Right, hi Shannon, hi Dave. This is my typing video. So, start with question one. What is your average day week like? Wake up time, school, work, friends, drama, interests. Okay. What's your average day week like? Well, I work full time, so pretty much, if I take this literally, biggest component of my week is going to work. So, I wake up, try and time it as efficiently as I can. Uh, Literally wake up, make breakfast, put some clothes on, leave the house, uh, go to work. I've got a standard job, 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day, so I do that, come home, uh, two young kids, so everything's quite routine with them. It's pretty much from when I come home to, say, the next 3 hours or so is either taking care of chores or maintenance around the house, as required, or assisting with their routine, dinner, sleep. What we do after that depends. Uh, we've, my partner and I, two kids, it's been a lot more challenging, so we've decided to come up with routines, or guidelines more so of how we use the time at the weeknights. Um, So essentially, if we're talking about a working week, it's quite consistent. Uh, not, not consistent, but yeah, okay, it's quite consistent, I suppose, with a bit of flexibility to change things here and there. So yeah, how does it look like? Essentially, most of my time is spent either working or helping out with the kids. There's not really too much free time for myself. Uh, Weekends, once again, where we've had to be quite coordinated in advance, trying to juggle needs of family, our own commitments, the things we want to do, things with the kids. So I suppose you could say that what's the average day week like? Instead of consistent, I prefer to say structured. Because consistent to me implies there's a level of repeatability, and so we don't do the same things every week. It's just the same structure, and then we'll adapt that to suit whatever our needs are that are pressing at the time. So, okay. Tell us about one of the most stressful times in your life. Okay. Uh, right now, I'm going through quite a stressful phase. I don't particularly want to talk about it, not because I don't want to share it with you guys, but more so, this is going to be a relatively public video, and the aspects of stress don't pertain just to me, other people in my life, and I don't want to. I don't. I don't want to broach their privacy. So, if I take a step back from that, okay, probably the most stressful thing I've gone through recently was to do with Christmas, planning with families, all the tying in different people's needs together. The short story is, between my partner and myself, we effectively have three sets of grandparents, and then you've got all the siblings, then you've got your own family, and everyone wants a committed piece of the same day, which makes things quite complicated. Uh, this year, I well, not I, but my partner and I decided to take a more preemptive approach, I suppose. And so we had come up with an idea that we thought was quite novel and would help satisfy the needs of all parties, not even just as a compromise, but essentially something that would cater to everyone. Uh, Unfortunately, when we decided to go ahead with that, it wasn't received the way we had intended. It actually caused a lot of turmoil. Uh, so yes, there was genuine stress. I think at one point somebody quite important even threatened to stop talking to us altogether. I certainly didn't predict that. So the stress was more to do with, I suppose, not being able to identify people's actual values in relation to this. I was probably more so going off the superficial things that they were sharing and not diving into it any deeper. And I suppose the core element of stress is I felt responsible for, yeah, I suppose I put a burden on my partner about how it all went down. In the end, it was solved, in big part to her. But yes, it was stressful, and at one point I didn't actually know what was going to. I didn't know if there was going to be permanent damage. So yeah, that was stressful. All right. Third one. What are some problems you see with the world? Okay. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting question. I think if I look at my own journey from upbringing to where I'm today, for me personally, I'd say I don't think people like. I don't think people given the license, or perhaps better, is the opportunity to find ways to accept themselves. But I suppose they're, yeah, at what degree? I mean, yeah, it's a good question. I if it comes to what humans need for survival, I haven't seen any problems per se. I've got shelter, water, regular source of food. So my personal needs are met, and in that way the world is working and functional. Does everyone else have that? No. Should everyone else have that? Personally, I don't think so. Maybe I'd change my mind if I was in their shoes. Probably would, but that doesn't mean that they should. Yeah, I suppose the biggest problem I see at the moment then with the world would be what impact this whole information era is going to have on the upcoming generation. Whether they've got the skills to keep progressing humanity, or evolving our position, dealing with the strain on the earth as the population count gets bigger, or whether if I go off the stereotypes, I don't really know these people that are 10 to 20, but if you go off the stereotypes, they seem to be very self-infatuated, me. If those reports are true, then it'll be interesting to see at what point do they reach the crisis of sorts, where they realise there's more to it than just themselves. Yeah, I mean, look, do I have problems in my life? Absolutely. Do I think they're important in the big scheme of things, even within my own life, let alone the context of the world spinning? No, I don't. I think this is a very hard question to answer, because the way I look at it is the only problems I'm aware of is what the news lets me know about. Otherwise, how else are you meant to find out about these things? So the first question is, do you trust the information that's being distributed to you? Perhaps that's the problem itself. This whole fake news dilemma, or deep fakes, is probably who knows how extreme an issue that is either. So those are probably the big issues at the moment. What can you trust? Yeah, that's what I'd go with. Okay. Tell us about one of the best times of your life. Okay. Geez, this is not really something I ever think about too much at all. I think the best times in my life have been when I've been presented with challenges that, in my mind, pretty much had either given up on, or were very close to giving up on, and for whatever reason, I was put in a situation where I became responsible for resolving those challenges, and I succeeded. It's happened to me professionally, probably 3 or 4 times that I can think of, and that period of happiness probably sustained for somewhere between a 3 to 6 month period. But the best times, yeah, I guess even though I've started to learn to value work less, the truth is, when you're working I don't work 9 to 5, but when you're working a 40-hour week, that's a large percentage of your day in life. And so, even if you're having great times at home, great times on the weekend, if things aren't going well at work, it actually probably was a struggle for me to make the most of it. So I'd say in general, we've been up to today, the best times I've experienced is when I've had harmony at work, and that's allowed me then to truly appreciate and enjoy the harmony at home. Yeah. What is the biggest challenge in your life right now? Okay. I kind of broached on this before. I said I didn't want to talk about it too much. Okay. What can I share that's not going to throw people under the bus? Okay. I'll keep it to me. So I'm going through my own. It's hard to say if it's a hero's journey or not. I guess I'll know when I come out of whatever it is. But I'm going through a period where I'm reevaluating and trying to figure out what is important to me. I suppose professionally, I've got to a point where I've moved up the ranks quite quickly. For example, where I work, everyone else at the same tier is probably a good 15 years older than me. And it's been like that probably for the past 4 years or so, maybe 5 years, where everyone's just significantly older. Some even have kids that have moved out, whereas I've got kids that have just been born. So that highlights the gap. But where I'm getting at is, I suppose I've been on this journey where all the direction I've taken and focused and emphasised on have been either values of society, values of my parents, that even though I took on board, I'm not ashamed to say that they were a large influence on me. So now I'm at this point where everything that I've done has had, I wouldn't say clear trajectory, because it's always been get to a point, then reevaluate, open a new door. But more so, the gap between doors was quite short. I feel like where I am now, the gap between doors is actually quite long. So, for example, for me to move up from where I am now, I genuinely feel like I probably need another 3 to 5 years experience in what I'm doing. Purely because you just won't get a look in. People just think either that you're too young, or how can you have that experience? and I can't really be bothered going through the process of trying to force the door open, even though I probably could. So essentially, now that the gap between where I am and the next rung is quite far out, and I don't have the patience for that, and I've been forced now to reevaluate: is this actually what I want to do? The gap between risk and reward is now pushed out where it doesn't make sense to me anymore. And so my biggest challenge is evaluating what's important to me in regards to myself, my impact on the people that I support, namely my family and the kids. That process has been very challenging. I've got a direction at the moment that I'm pursuing. So, essentially, first quarter or second quarter 2020, I'm aiming to have finalised a business that I'm working on and push that out. So, we'll see. But that would be it. Okay, next one. What would your ideal life look like 10 years from now? Oh, jeez. I've always hated these questions. It's not that I don't look into the future. I don't like looking that far ahead. There's so much uncertainty. I find it quite pointless. A lot of it's out of my control. What would my ideal life look like? Well, okay. If I start off with, ideally I'd like everyone to be healthy. That's important. That's important to me. I'd like more harmony in between the families. Actively working towards that. So my kids then will be at a meaningful age. I'd like to have a good relationship with them. What does that even mean? I'd like them to feel they can trust me. I'm not there to be their best friend, but it's important to me that they can trust me, and know that I have their best interests at heart, which I think is part of that element of trust. There are some very specific things I like that I'm not willing to talk about on this video again because it's public. So I won't share those things. I am passionate about this business opportunity. I don't know if I'll still be involved with it in 10 years, but I'd like it to still be a presence. That's me and my immediate impact. Where should the world be in 10 years? That's an interesting one. Well, I guess, I don't know. It's, like I said, this is not something I think about. Do I care about world peace? No. Famine? No. Once again, if it affected where I live, perhaps I would, but it doesn't. It doesn't impact me, so out of sight, out of mind. I guess it'd be interesting to see what happens with all this Mars exploration. Is Earth going to be the sole place for humankind? I don't think they'll be resolved in 10 years' time, so not worth considering. I suppose as a slight detour, I went to a talk recently called I can't remember the author, but he's an American, and his theory is called the fourth turning or something along the lines, where essentially every 80 years is a cycle in humankind, and that those 80 years can be broken into 4 cycles of 20 years. And right now we're in this phase of we're in a 20-year cycle just before large-scale war. So I think according to this, in the next 2 years or so, there will be a world war of sorts. So, what would life look like in 10 years' time? Well, firstly, I'd like to still be alive. I'd like to not be enslaved. I would like peace. I wouldn't like to be in famine. And there we go. Okay, thanks.